Godspeed, John Glenn.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground.
New possibilities are opening up for scientific cooperation between countries.
2-1-0. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Discovery, Roger. Go for deploy.
Thanks to and to everybody in the shuttle program. The crew is go for launch.
Roger. Nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
You are looking live at a view of the SpaceX Dragon Endurance, currently mated to the forward port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station as the vehicle flies 262 miles from northwest to southeast over the Atlantic Ocean off the east coast of the United States. Good afternoon from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room as 4 crew members who have spent almost 5 months aboard the orbital outpost begin the journey home, heading for a splashdown off the coast of California on Saturday morning to wrap up a 148-day, 62.7 million-mile mission.
Houston, station.
Welcome to our coverage of the departure and hatch closure of the Crew 10 crew from the International Space Station.
Go ahead on 2, Tuck.
Hey, Tess, we have been trying to call SpaceX on both Big Loop as well as Drone DG1, but no response. Also, did you guys hear us?
And Tuck, yes, we heard you. We do not currently have TDRS Direct on Dragon, so our return calls did not make it up to you.
Okay, so can you guys relay the information to SpaceX? So step 2.9 is complete. Dragon cabin config for departure is complete. And also we are looking for go for step 3.1 and also checking the LIO config in step 3.4.
Checking.
Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Takuya Onishi, who spent some time as the commander of the International Space Station up until a few days ago.
We have you loud and clear now, too. Thank you. And SpaceX Dragon, come check.
The conversation you've been hearing, part of the pre-hatch closure preparations.
Currently is not on Space to Ground 2 directly. We're working the config on the ground to get you comm.
You heard the voice of spacecraft communicator Tess Caswell here in Mission Control.
We have seats 2 and 3 seated and in seats 1 and 4 working on steps 2 and 3, or correction 3 of 2.103.
And that was the voice of Dragon Commander, Crew 10 Commander Anne McClain of NASA, as she and her 3 crewmates begin to put themselves in their seats in the SpaceX Dragon vehicle, named Endurance, and begin the process of suiting up for hatch closure and the undocking of Dragon from the forward port of Harmony that is scheduled later this afternoon at 5:05 p.m. Central Time, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time. You're looking at part of the complement of the Expedition 73 crew that will be left behind once Endurance departs, with the undocking scheduled about 2 hours and 15 minutes from now. Again, the 4 departing crew members, Anne McClain and Nichole Ayers of NASA, Takuya Onishi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. They launched aboard their Dragon vehicle on a Falcon 9 rocket On March 14th, arrived at the International Space Station the following day, and at the time of splashdown that is scheduled for 10:33 a.m. Central Time, 11:33 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday morning, Crew 10 will have completed 148 days in space, 146 of them aboard the station, a journey of 2,368 orbits of the Earth, and 62.7 million miles. And McClain's 148 days in space upon splashdown tomorrow will have totaled 352 days in space on her 2 flights. Nichole Ayers, of course, in her first flight, 148 days. Takuya Onishi, with his 148 days in space upon his return to Earth tomorrow, will have logged 263 days in space on a pair of flights. And this, the first flight for Kirill Peskov, he will have logged 148 days in space. The crew saw a total of 5 arriving vehicles and the departure of 6 visiting vehicles.
SpaceX Dragon has you loud and clear. Great to talk to you today.
And great to hear your voice. Sorry for the delay there. Capcom is about to relay up a call, but captured all of your words, and you are go for 3.1 for LIO config, IMV teardown, hatch closure, and suit donning. We're going to be swapping to cartridge number 4 today.
Copy. Go in step 3, cartridge number 4.
And that conversation between the core, the crew operations resource engineer, basically the SpaceX Capcom or communicator, and Anne McClain aboard Dragon, as she indicates that the crew members are inside Dragon. They will swap out lithium oxide canisters that are used for the scrubbing of the air to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere on board the Dragon during its free flight away from the International Space Station. This will be basically a 17.5-hour transit of phasing away from the station following undocking later today until the time of the deorbit burn for Dragon that is scheduled for Saturday morning at 9:39 and 47 seconds a.m. Central Time, 10:39 and 47 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. The remaining crew that will be left on board the station to continue the unbroken presence of humans aboard the International Outpost, which will reach its 25th anniversary on November 2nd this year, is comprised of the new station commander, Sergei Ryzhikov, his Roscosmos colleagues, Alexei Zabritsky and Oleg Platonov, NASA astronauts Johnny Kim, Zena Cardman, and Mike Fink, and Kimiya Yui of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Ryzhikov, Zabritsky, and Kim launched back in September on the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Cardman, Fink, Platonov, and Yui launched just 8 days ago aboard the SpaceX Dragon Endeavour, arriving at the International Space Station to begin their tour of duty on board the orbital outpost. A good view once again from external cameras on the International Space Station of the docking interface between the forward port of Endurance on the left and the pressurized mating adapter on the forward end of the Harmony module and the U.S. segment of the International Space Station. The cone-shaped object at the top of your screen is the nose cap on the Dragon itself, which will be closed prior to Dragon's re-entry back into the Earth's atmosphere on Saturday. After waving off the undocking of Dragon because of weather conditions off the coast of California, a final weather briefing was conducted this morning by NASA and SpaceX managers. The weather conditions were carefully evaluated and determined that winds at the splashdown site off the coast of California are and will be within limits tomorrow morning.
SpaceX Dragon on big loop for LIO.
Go ahead, Dragon. We're with you on the big loop.
Hey, LIO cartridge number 4 has been installed in active slot at GMT 1955.
We copy. LIO cartridge 4 installed in active slot at 1955.
And once again, Takuya Onishi confirming with SpaceX flight controllers in Hawthorne that the air scrubbing canisters have been installed aboard Dragon to help with the scrubbing out of carbon dioxide during Endurance's free flight away from the station through the time of entry and splashdown on Saturday morning. The countdown clocks here in Mission Control are counting towards the command that will be issued 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 30 seconds from now for the retraction of an umbilical that is basically a power and telemetry cable that has provided power to Endurance during its 5 months attached to the forward port of the International Space Station. Once that umbilical retracts, the command that will previously be issued begins the opening of 2 sets of hooks, 6 hooks for each set, that have held Endurance firmly in place to the forward port on pressurized mating adapter number 2 on the forward end of the Harmony module. Once those hooks are opened later today, there will be the first of 2 undocking burns, as they are called. The first for 1.5 seconds to begin the physical separation of Endurance from the International Space Station. The second burn of 5 seconds in duration will accelerate that opening rate and lead to the beginning of 4 so-called departure burns, which will increase the phasing away from the station for Endurance to a safe distance for the deorbit burn that is scheduled for Saturday morning. Earlier this week, the departing Crew 10 crew members, led by Commander Ann McClain, had a few moments to share their thoughts with the Expedition 73 crew members that they were part of and continue to be part of until they undock later this afternoon. That all led into a change of command ceremony in which Takuya Onishi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency handed over station command to Sergei Ryzhikov of Roscosmos. McClain's comments were particularly poignant. Let's take a moment as we replay her comments this past Tuesday as the Crew 10 began preparations to begin their trip home.
And as we complete our mission on Space Station, we really want to lead with gratitude for the absolute privilege of getting to live and work aboard this amazing International Space Station. All of us are keenly aware that we may never get to do this again, and we've been very pensive over the last days of understanding what we have all got to be a part of. And we know that there's some tumultuous times on Earth, and there's some people that are going through struggles all around. And we want this mission, our mission, to be a reminder of what people can do when we work together, when we explore together. The foundations of this mission were laid long before any of us got here. This is a short snapshot in time today in our mission. But the International Space Station, this international mission that has been going on for almost 25 years, was made possible by visionaries who years before believed in something this massive. I truly believe that this is one of the biggest feats of cooperation that humans have ever accomplished. It takes people from every country all around the world every single day showing up to support this mission to make it happen. And really, we just get to be, we had the privilege of getting to be here for a short period of that time. But if we think back to 40 years ago when this idea was conceived and the international partnerships started to come together, the atmosphere and the climate politically was very similar to what it is now. There's a lot of people that would say that's not going to be possible. But all it took was visionaries from all around the world to work together, to have a mustard seed of faith that something like this could be done when we work together. Crew 10 has had the absolute privilege of working here for the last 4 months, and we have so much gratitude for all of the ground teams that showed up every day to make this possible. We truly are very humbled to represent humanity, and we hope that we can be a reminder to others of the goodness of humanity and what we really can accomplish when we work together.
Once again, those words from Dragon Commander Anne McClain of NASA this past Tuesday during farewell remarks at the beginning of a change of command ceremony. So as we fast forward now, the 4 crew members who are departing the station, McClain, Nichole, Ayers, Takuya Onishi, and Kirill Peskov, are aboard Dragon, preparing to configure the systems on their spacecraft before they close the hatch and begin suiting up into their launch and entry suits. Once the hatch is closed, there will be leak checks on both sides of the docking interface that you see there from external camera views on the station. Those leak checks will ensure that we have an airtight seal before we begin to depressurize the small passageway or vestibule that connects Dragon to the forward port of the Harmony module through that pressurized mating adapter on the right side of your screen. Once the vestibule is depressurized and the pressure is equalized on both sides of the docking interface, that will set the stage for the undocking command to be issued by SpaceX flight controllers in Hawthorne, California. That's scheduled 1 hour 57 minutes from now, 5 minutes after that command is issued, and with all 12 hooks holding Endurance to the International Space Station opened. The first undocking burn of about 1.5 seconds in duration will be issued, and that basically breaks the interface between Endurance and the station and marks the official undocking of the vehicle from the orbital outpost. The International Space Station is currently traveling in an orbit 262 miles above the Earth, moving from northwest to southeast across the Atlantic Ocean east of the continent of South America, about to enter an orbital sunset. The station, of course, orbits every 90 minutes in an inclination of 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. We now have received confirmation that the hatch on Endurance is closed, so we'll mark that at 3:04 p.m. Central Time, 4:04 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, the hatch closed to the Dragon Endurance.
SpaceX Dragon PPRV ISO valve confirmed visually open.
SpaceX copies on the big loop.
And this view inside the Dragon Endurance, with the hatch to the International Space Station's Harmony module having been closed through pressurized mating adapter number 2. You're looking at crew members who are configuring systems prior to completion of their suit-up procedures that will lead to their undocking at 5:05 p.m. Central Time, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, this is a 17.5-hour transit away from the station to a splashdown site off the coast of California on Saturday morning. The deorbit burn on Saturday morning at 9:39 a.m. Central Time, 10:39 a.m. Eastern Time will be a 17.5-minute retrograde firing to slow Endurance down by 115 meters per second, allowing it to drop out of orbit for its high-speed entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. About 18 minutes after the deorbit burn, there will be the claw separation that basically holds the trunk in place, followed by the trunk of Dragon, the lower portion of Dragon. That will separate at 9:58 a.m. Central Time, 10:58 a.m. Eastern Time, before Endurance is maneuvered into the proper orientation for entry, with the heat shield facing in the direction of travel to ablate or repel heat that will build up around the spacecraft to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. There will be a brief period of loss of signal because of the ionization of molecules around the spacecraft itself. Once we come AOS, or the acquisition of signal following that period of ionization, we'll be set for the deployment of the drogue chutes on Endurance, followed a short time later by the main chute deployment. Splashdown is scheduled at 10:33 and 47 seconds a.m. Central Time, 11:33 and 47 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. That will be 8:33 a.m. off the coast of California. Again, splashdown scheduled on Saturday morning.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Control of cabin air temperature via 4.080 is allowed until pre-chill. Note that the hex is currently configured for maximum cooling.
Phase 4.080.
And the view inside Dragon, you're looking at the crew members who are completing their suit-up procedures. On the very right side of your screen is Takuya Onishi and Kirill Peskov. Already in their seats, Nichole, Ayers, and the Dragon commander, and McClain. The undocking and departure profile off the forward port of the International Space Station's Harmony module will carry Dragon to a distance of about 400 meters in front of the station, and then a similar distance above the station and behind the station, as the departure burns carry Dragon into a trajectory that will result in it phasing away from the International Space Station over the course of about 17 hours prior to the deorbit burn that will ultimately bring Endurance home. Once again, the mission will wrap up tomorrow morning, with Crew 10 having spent 148 days in space, 146 of them aboard the station, a journey of 2,368 orbits spanning 62.7 million miles. During their mission, the 4 crew members of Crew 10 conducted a multitude of scientific experiments, and Dan McClain and Nichole Ayers conducted 1 spacewalk totaling 5 hours and 44 minutes in duration. This will be the 4th time that a Dragon will have splashed down off the coast of California. The FRAM-2 mission, the commercial resupply uncrewed CRS-32 mission, and most recently the Axiom-4 mission, all concluded with splashdowns off the coast of California, but this will be the first time that a Dragon involved in the commercial crew program will have returned to Earth with a splashdown off the coast of California. And in the near field of view, Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov completing his suit up and his strap in to his seat. If you're just joining us, the hatch to the Dragon Endurance, that is the vehicle bringing home the Crew 10 quartet, was closed at 3:04 p.m. Central Time, 4:04 p.m. Eastern Time. You're seeing the crew members completing their suit-up procedures. There will be leak checks on both sides of the docking interface between Endurance and the forward port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station through pressurized mating adapter number 2. Once those leak checks are complete, the small passageway at the docking interface will be depressurized to vacuum. That will set the stage for the undocking command to be issued 1 hour and 46 minutes from now. That will come right on the dot at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, initiating a 5-minute procedure to retract the umbilical between Dragon and the International Space Station, that umbilical having provided power and telemetry to Dragon during the course of its almost 5 months of docked operations. 2 sets of hooks, 6 hooks per set, will then be opened. Set 1 first, followed about 2 minutes later by set 2. And then the first of the undocking burns, a quick burst of the Draco thrusters on Dragon for about 1.5 seconds will be initiated at 5:05 p.m. Central Time, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time, to initiate the actual physical separation of Dragon from the International Space Station. While we have a handover in our downlink video from the station through our tracking and data relay satellite system, you're looking at Flight Director Allison Bollinger on the right side of your screen, joined to her right by spacecraft communicator Tess Caswell, who has been talking to both the departing Dragon crew and the Expedition 73 crew, who remain on board the complex. For Sergei Ryzhikov, Johnny Kim, and Alexei Zabritsky, who launched aboard Soyuz back in September, the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft, this is their 123rd day in space. while the Crew 11 crew recently arrived at the station, consisting of Zena Cardman, Mike Fink, Kimia Yui, and Oleg Platonov, are in their 8th day in space. And on the left side of your screen, you're looking at the back of Mike Fink, veteran NASA astronaut, now in his 4th flight into space, as he and his crewmates are doing seal inspections on the forward hatch to the Harmony module that will be closed a short time from now, initiating the beginning of the equalization of pressure and the ultimate depressurization of that vestibule, very short passageway between Dragon and the International Space Station.
Dragon Houston on 2.
Houston Dragon, go ahead.
Stand by for Big Loop RF audio config. And we expect this to cause approximately a 2-minute dropout in audio with MCC.
See a 2-minute dropout, and for everyone's awareness, we are starting section 5 of 4.010. All 4 crew members are seated, and strapped in.
That conversation referencing the Big Loop, that is the interconnected communications channel that ties the space-to-ground loop aboard the International Space Station with the communication system aboard Dragon, and which will remain in play until Dragon departs the so-called approach ellipsoid, which is basically a racetrack boundary outside of which the integrated operations between Mission Control here in Houston and the SpaceX Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California is conducted. Once Dragon departs the approach ellipsoid, the work is essentially done for Mission Control here in Houston for the joint phase of this mission, and SpaceX Mission Control will take over full operations of Dragon's departure, its back away and phasing away from the International Space Station all the way through splashdown on Saturday morning off the coast of California. The space station is currently flying 262 miles south of the continent of Africa, about to begin a southwest to northeasterly trek that will carry it across the east coast of Australia and back across the North Pacific And as you can see on the left side of your screen, the hatch is now closed on the station side of the docking interface. As Zena Cardman cleans up some of the equipment prior to the start of the leak checks that will be conducted between Dragon and the International Space Station to ensure that we have a tight seal before the depressurization of the passageway that will be the precursor to the undocking of Endurance from the station, physical separation scheduled at 5:05 p.m. Central, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time. The communications loops have now been properly configured according to flight controllers here in Houston.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop. Houston Dragon, we have you loud and clear.
All right. C2V2 RF config is complete on the big loop, so you were just about to call SpaceX. We'll let that be your comm check.
And Dragon, SpaceX has you loud.
SpaceX test, thanks Cronus. SpaceX Dragon, we are complete with...
Okay, SpaceX has you loud and clear on the big loop.
Complete with suit donning. We are at 4.011, looking for your go on 1.1.
Dragon, you are go to begin suit leak check procedure 4.011.
And McClain talking to both the Capcom here in Houston and the core, or SpaceX Capcom in Hawthorne, California, if you will. The procedures that they're relaying back and forth now have reached the point of leak checks on their suits to ensure that they have a tight seal on all 4 suits for the departing crew members.
Standing by for your go. Close the APAS hatch.
And Johnny, before we give you that go, we'd like to confirm that you saw no damage or debris in your inspection in 5.2.
Confirm, no damage or debris, clean seals in step 5.2.
You are go for step 5.3.
Work.
NASA's Johnny Kim talking to Tess Caswell, the Capcom here in Houston, as they are about to complete the series of hatch closure procedures, this being the final hatch between the pressurized mating adapter and Harmony itself, that will set the stage for not only the suit leak checks for the 4 Dragon Endurance crew members, but also set the stage for the depressurization of the vestibule connecting Dragon to the International Space Station. We want that vestibule to be depressurized down to vacuum with readings that are equivalent on both sides of the docking interface before we move into the undocking command later this afternoon that will set in motion the physical separation of Endurance from the complex and begin the journey home for the 4 crew members comprising Crew 10 and McClain, Nichole, Ayers, Takuya Onishi, and Kirill Peskov.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop, step 2.2, ready to pressurize.
Dragon, you are go to initiate suit leak check.
Copy, go.
And McClain, the Endurance commander, indicating that the crew is about to pressurize their suits to ensure that we have tight seals and good integrity on the 4 suits for the departing crew members.
Houston copies.
Leak checks underway for the 4 suits. About 1 minute left before we should hear from SpaceX that we have 4 good suits.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, we see 4 good suit leak checks.
Green copies, good suit leak check.
And as you heard in that communications, 4 good leak checks performed on the suits, being worn by McClain, Nichole, Ayers, Takuya Onishi, and Kirill Peskov, with their crew members who soon will be departing the International Space Station, all buttoned up now, conducting final pre-departure preparations. We will point towards our next broadcast that is coming up at 4:45 p.m. Central Time, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time, when we here in Houston will be joined by our colleagues in Hawthorne, California at SpaceX Mission Control for the undocking of Endurance from the International Space Station and the beginning of the trip home for the Crew 10 crew members. So again, the hatch is closed, the suits have been verified to be airtight, and the stage is set for the departure of Crew 10 from the International Space Station about 1 hour and 34 minutes from now. With that, we'll sign off this broadcast, and we'll be back with you in about 1 hour and 15 minutes for the undocking of Endurance from the International Space Station. In the meantime, this is Mission Control Houston.